It's July 21st, 2016.
This is Idle Thumbs 272. I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Nick Breckon.
And I'm Jake Rodkin. Wow, energized, Nick.
Oh, hi.
Wow.
Hello.
Who are you?
I'm Nick Breckon.
Oh, man. I heard that you were. You've been very... Is that your stomach?
Yeah, that's my stomach.
That's been happening all morning.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. You just eat something.
I'm not even hungry.
Really?
I don't know what's going on.
Huh.
Yeah.
You're incubating some kind of alien form.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Sorry to break it to you.
Yeah. It's a very quick diagnosis.
Yeah, well, I'm a space scientist.
As an observer of cinema.
Yeah, it'd be a really...
I've seen this before many times.
Yeah.
Were we in some sort of television show, Chris's character would, in fact, have correctly predicted right now exactly what's happening. If we were in the 90s, he would have gotten it right, but he wouldn't be proven right until
That's right.
like the Act 2 to 3
Everyone
break.
would be dismissing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, that can't possibly...
Probably what would happen now is that I would be wrong, but then some like weirder and more self-aware, wacky thing would happen.
But you would refer to it as the creature that you described when you
Right.
it would ironically be called the xenomorph.
Yeah, all of us
of
would
course.
be familiar with like the existence of the film Alien. In the 90s version, everyone would like act as though no one's ever heard of that movie before. Mm-hmm. But then it would just happen.
Mm-hmm. There's different genres, because in the 90s though, alternatively someone just says this is just like Alien in the post Scream world. Anyway. You have
That's
to
late 90s.
in the modern version, we just aloofly assume that everyone knows what it is and don't call out the fact that we're making postmodern references.
Right.
True. Anyway, Nick, R.I.P. you. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
It was the creature what done it.
I heard that as our IP, you. Like
that's also true.
Nick Breckon, our intellectual, Idle Thumbs intellectual property.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
You might as well be our intellectual property.
Yeah,
because you're like a fully fledged character in my RimWorld game.
I heard this.
Playing.
I saw this.
Yeah.
I didn't see the stream yet, but I've
three.
heard...
I've done 3 streams so far. I've been doing it every night for the last few days.
Well, I got a tweet out of context about something about Danielle's mom hitting on me. And
you've got that backwards, my friend.
Oh, I'm hitting on Danielle's mom.
You're hitting on everybody.
Well, okay, fine, but either way, I didn't know that they were talking about a video game, and I was like, "What's going on this stream?" Like, I didn't know that you were playing a game that had any.
Right.
What is the full name of your character in RimWorld?
Okay, so I'll get to that.
So what's the game?
What is RimWorld?
Yeah.
So
what is games?
RimWorld is a game whose ambition is essentially to take Dwarf Fortress and put it in a sort of interface and graphical context that is actually, parsable pretty straightforwardly from the start. I mean, it's still a fairly complex game when you just jump into it, but after you understand what you're doing, it's very, it plays like a normal video game along the lines of an economic builder, So the closest analog I would say would be Prison Architect, even to the point that it looks very much like the graphical style of Prison Architect. And as I was informed by people on the stream a couple nights ago, apparently the game started using temp assets from Prison Architect.
Oh, okay.
It has sort of developed as created its own assets, but is still in that style, a sort of thick outline style. Mm-hmm. And the goal is to act in a very highly simulated way, like a Dwarf Fortress does, while having this sort of slightly more accessible skin. And so I think the plan is just to keep developing it indefinitely. But if you click on characters, I mean, you can see that there's an insane amount of stuff tracked. And when they're, if they're wounded, it's like what limb is wounded and what are they suffering from? And they have all of these social factors that are influencing their happiness positively and negatively and so on and so on. And, you don't have to like take that stuff into account really. It's just they're doing stuff. And I think a lot of it is not doing very much yet. But a lot of it is, it's already a very intricate game in a way that's extremely pleasing because that's the intricacy is largely in the clockwork mechanisms inside of it rather than you needing to think about like, oh crap, it was his left leg that was injured, therefore I need to do this. No, it's like they still just go and get treated in the medical bed, but the game is thinking about that stuff for reasons that may matter now and may matter in the future, and who knows. But anyway, so I started a game, and one of the really cool things about this game is that there are 3, I believe, different AI storytellers you can choose from. And I'm playing the sort of chill one where it's like, there are dramatic things that happen, but they're spaced out a little bit more. And there's one that is aimed specifically at sort of encouraging drama. And then there's one that's just totally random. It's completely without bias, and just good and bad things can happen with no regard for, pacing or anything like that. And I think that they've been slowly added over time, so I wouldn't be surprised if more of these get added as the developer Tynan Sylvester figures out, other cool ways to play with this sort of emotional curves of the game. By the way, Tynan Sylvester was my coworker at Irrational Games. I worked with him.
In the great tradition of Irrational Games and its ancillary spin-off companies creating every indie game in the world.
Yeah, this has been a weird game for me to play personally because, one, I know the developer of. I mean, I haven't seen him since we worked at Irrational, so it's not as though we're close friends or anything. But I worked with him in a sort of past life on a different game, and he's really smart. And it's not surprising to me that he's managed to basically spin this up single-handedly, it seems. So that's cool. And then also, it's weird because I worked on a game that I think shares a lot of DNA with this game, which was Space-Based, which was
I worked on that too.
Yeah, which is a game that unfortunately did not get to sort of continue indefinitely, which was a bummer to everyone involved. But playing this game, it is crazy to just see. Oh man, I remember working on problems like this on the prototype of this game. I worked more on the Space-Based prototype than on the Space-Based game that shipped, but the underlying systems and basic problems are so similar. I mean, I remember it's like, working on bugs where it's like, oh, this person's supposed to be doing this, but they're doing this instead. And like, how does that job system work under the hood? It's crazy it's just weird to play it. Anyway, so I made a new game. The one I made, there are a few different scenarios. In addition to the different AI storytellers, there are different scenarios. The one I did is you start with 3 people who have crash landed on this planet, and you have to found a colony and, thrive, basically. It's very, typical setup. So there's a character creator where you can't choose the stats, but you can keep hitting the random creation button until you're happy with the stats. And people were saying, oh, you should have someone who's good at growing crops, and you should have someone who's good at research, and should have someone who's good at, I think, medicine. So I did my researcher, and I'm like, oh, this is I did medicine. And I was like, okay, this is going to be Danielle. Danielle Rando is going to be medicine because she's an EMT in real life, and that's funny. And so her name was Danielle Junior Mintz Riendo, and the middle name is their nickname, and it's what you actually see on the character. And I'm like, oh, that's funny. And then I'm going to make another person. And this is going to be Nick Breckon, just because. And Nick Breckon is my grower. And, I make this person, and your middle name, your sort of identifiable name is Goldblum. So it just it occurs to me now that it shows up on the game, like in the game as Goldblum, but I'm always referring to you as Nick Breckon. So for people who are watching the stream who don't listen to the podcast, of which I think there are several because they come into the Twitch stream because it says streaming RimWorld, and they're like, oh, I want to watch someone play RimWorld. Yeah. So that probably doesn't make any sense to them.
So if Nick Breckon is intellectual property of Idle Thumbs LLC, that means that Jeff Goldblum might be able to make a content claim on us.
True.
That's okay, though. I welcome a content claim from Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
Unless it's the Goldblum.
No.
He can't take those away from us. Anyway, you made a third character.
I did. Well, so
to go on with your story.
So I'm like, okay, well, I need a researcher now. And so I'm like hitting randomize until I get someone who's good at research. And then when I do, I'm like, oh, great, good researcher. And then I look at the name, and it's like mother of Danielle Riendo. And I'm like, what? The game has already absorbed the information from my character.
It's already simming family relations in your character roller.
And so I nicknamed her Senior Mints, which I was very pleased about. And so I have Danielle Riendo, Nick Breckon, and Danielle Riendo's mom. So I start the game, and I start like learning the systems and constructing walls and floors and stuff. And almost immediately, I start it has the feature that is typical of games like this, where you click on a character and it lists what is going well in their life and what is going badly in their life, and things they've done recently that are contributing to that. And I look at Nick Breckon, and he's quite unhappy. And I'm like, well, figures. But then I see why, and it's because he has been hitting on Danielle, who's been rejecting him. And then Danielle's mom has been hitting on Nick and being rejected by Nick.
Wow, so, space intrigue immediately.
Instantly this weird love triangle that has...
Between Danielle, her mom, and Nick.
So, Nick, you were actually right when you said Danielle's mom was hitting on you. I'd forgotten. The reason I'd forgotten that was the case is because eventually what happened was Nick just started hitting on both of them like crazy, and they were both turning him down. Eventually, after like a week of hitting on Danielle's mom, she basically just relents, and they're in a relationship now. But last night in my third stream, I created a large bed so that Nick Breckon and Danielle's mom can sleep in it together.
It's a colony priority.
Well,
all the resources being diverted to this effort.
It was like a new relationship, and I was very happy about it. And so I do that, and then I start up. So the 2 nights ago stream, I ended it. I was like, I want to wait and see if they actually get in the bed together. Oh, they totally did. Great. Okay, stream's over. So then I start up the new stream last night.
Yeah.
And the first thing I do, the first thing I do when I start up a new stream is I click on everyone and I see what's going on in their brain. And I click on Nick Breckon, and he's like, he's pleased about his new relationship, but he's also deeply unhappy for another reason, which is that 5 more attempts to woo Danielle have been rejected. And I'm like, I'm seeing this on the character while you're in bed with Danielle's mom. It's so this is your.
So am I just getting up for a drink and just sort of like going across the hall?
I don't even know.
Like,
your character, by the way, is like a bundle of neuroses. Basically, everyone else in the colony.
Well, he's Jeff Goldblum.
I have 2
and Nick Breckon. I mean, that's a compound.
I've accrued 2 more teen members of my colony through various means. One of whom was a prisoner who I wounded, captured, and then eventually recruited, and then another of whom I can't remember where she came from, but she I think. Oh, I know. She was fleeing bandits or something, and so I took her in. But so I have 5 people there now. Pretty much all of them have essentially the same complaints, which is that the living quarters are too small, they're too drab, because I haven't really like spruced the place up yet. I've been working on the fundamentals.
There's my like goofy love nest that's probably got like what, like blinking, twinkling lights and just
Actually, it's funny you say that because
there you go.
After
I know what my love nest looks like, Chris.
After researching stone cutting, which is a very basic low level technology that I'm like, this is going to be useful. So then there's like dozens of other things you can research. And I'm like, okay, I'm done with stone cutting. What's next? And there's like basic microelectronics. There's all these crafting things. There's like all robotics of some sort or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? Colored lighting. What I need is colored lighting because I need to deck this place out. So and I just finished that last night. So soon, going to start really going nuts. And apparently someone in chat said that the game actually respects color combination. Like if you put different colored lights in the same room, they will actually blend in some way. So I'm excited about that. But anyway, so everyone pretty much on the base has very similar complaints, fairly minor complaints that like some people's clothes are just kind of getting tattered. I need to make new clothes, which I'm working on. And like, living quarters, drab, not too big. You look at Nick Breckon's, and it is fucking bonkers. There's like 20 things, and they're all just like generally uncomfortable, not a happy person.
Yeah,
like just like displeased, like rejected by Danielle.
Right.
Like this. But also, you have this trait that is optimist. Which is amazing. Like kind of makes the whole thing more tragic.
Yeah.
The fact that you like identify, you're like, I'm an optimist.
Right.
Oh, things are things are I'm feeling like, bad.
Everything's gonna turn around, but man, does everything just get me down.
It's really incredible just to click through the different characters and see how the list is just 4 times longer on the Nick Breckon character. It's quite amazing.
This doesn't really sound like it needs to be in space.
No, it does. I mean, it's not on space. It's on a planet.
Well, whatever.
So,
in science fiction.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's a sci-fi version of Dwarf Fortress, though. So it's like
Yes.
still terrestrial, but like
Right, it's still-
the
exactly.
conceit is
Yeah,
that
yes.
this isn't fantasy. This is some kind of like you know.
It actually makes that hard to describe in a sentence because I
Right.
initially want to say, "Oh, it's Dwarf Fortress in space," because that's such a pithy thing to say. But you can't
it's not
say
in
that because
space,
it's not.
yeah.
It's not like you're building a space
It's
station.
Dwarf Fortress, but you're like planetary colonists,
Right.
basically.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
On a RimWorld.
True. Man, it's already really good. There's already things that have happened that are just hilarious. Like I had an encounter with Danielle's mom is my designated hunter because everyone on my base is seriously terrible at shooting. Like both teams are trigger happy, which makes you worse at shooting because you're like haphazard with your shots. I think Nick Breckon is like incapable of firing a gun to begin with. Danielle is incapable of violence of any kind. So I mean, it's a disaster that these people are like trying to make a go of it on a hostile planet. Danielle's mom is quite a bad shot, but she's willing to like fire a gun and maybe hit a thing normally, like without too many like pathologies. And so she's my designated hunter. And at one point, I sent her out and I just marked a bunch of different animals as hunting targets because I'm learning like what's going on. She wounds a timberwolf. The timberwolf goes ape shit, like attacks her. She flees back into the base. It essentially becomes like the thing. I'm in this little colony that is just isolated, and there's a timberwolf outside that is just it will just bite the shit out of anyone who leaves. So I essentially have to put everyone on lockdown because this timberwolf is just going from door to door, attacking the doors to my base while people are like bleeding, like someone because you. This is I don't know if this is obvious because I didn't mention it, but like other games of this type, you don't have direct control over your characters unless they're in combat.
Right.
If they're not in combat, they just do what they do. Like they, you set priorities for what actions are important, like broadly, by character or in general, and then your character will just tend to those things according to their own needs. And so, I have Nick Breckon like wandering outside to pick the corn he sowed last season, and like from around the corner, this fucking mad like man-hunting timberwolf like charges him down and like rips off his arm or whatever. And I'm like, oh my god! So I have to like send everyone back in the base and like basically execute a guerrilla warfare where I like send someone out of the door opposite that and like take cover behind a corner, and they're all terrible shots. So it's like the most bullshit operation ever because they're sitting there like missing this irate wolf with their pop gun basically.
All I want to know is that while Danielle was sewing my arm back on, was I hitting on her? Was I using that as like, oh, hello, nurse? Like, probably.
Man. I apparently missed a lot of things while that was happening because I wasn't paying attention to anything. I was like losing my mind.
Yeah.
It happened again last night. Because again, everyone is such a poor shot. I sent Danielle's mom out to hunt muffalo, which are these huge, docile, like creatures that won't attack you back when you hunt them, but they're like massive. They're huge, so they're a lot of meat. She misses, of course, hits a fucking timberwolf. Whole thing happens all over again.
It sounds very Don't Starve. Don't Starve has beefalo.
Yeah, exactly.
If you hit them, then they
exactly,
destroy you. Yeah.
Well, the muffalo don't attack back, but if you miss and hit a timberwolf, that guy is not pleased.
Yeah.
I still, lost a lot of blood, but I dealt with it in a somewhat more professional fashion. Anyway, this game is really good. It's really really good. It was hard to get into, but as is the case, it's been a good experience doing it on Twitch because you get the good mix of people who have never seen the game, like people who know it quite well, the people who've played it a little bit, and so it's not a like deterministic game, so you can't really have it ruined for you. At least I have not had the experience of having it ruined for me by people just saying like, now do this, now do this, now do this. Like there's so many different factors that, people will give you advice, but the system isn't predictable enough to be able to just, at least not for me, to be able to just say, okay, great.
Right.
I'm just doing all the things chat said and now everything's great.
Yep.
Like, weird things will just happen no matter what.
Did you ever get into Prison Architect at all? I mean, like, I'm just curious if you.
I
if
did,
you played
but I
that much.
found it to be so dark, just sort of conceptually.
Yeah.
That a combination of being so dark, but also not really treating like an actually really significant subject matter
Yeah.
in a way that felt worthwhile.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like and I know that's kind of a point of the game, is sort of like the satirical aspect of it, but it just didn't.
Yeah, it
didn't land
it's
for
weird.
me.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had that exact problem with that game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just curious if you had like a comparison, but yeah.
I mean,
yeah. I felt the same way about that game. Yeah.
This game feels more like Prison Architect, just mechanically and visually, than anything I've played since then. But is this sort of more generalized concept of
cool.
create a colony and survive, with and so it has all pretty much all the things I liked about Prison Architect. Already feels wackier and more sort of like systemically bonkers in a way that I like. And then that may well be true of Prison Architect, and maybe I just didn't stick with it long enough to determine that, just for those other reasons. But I think RimWorld is great, and I really like that it's basically as just one person who's chugging away on it forever because as long as he can, because it feels very sustainable.
Yeah.
The game just needs a sort of baseline level of success to prop up a very, very small development team, which feels like the right model for a game like this. Which it's the same as Dwarf Fortress, but this game has been commercialized from this. I mean, this game was launched as a Kickstarter, which I actually contributed to. I backed the Kickstarter years ago in 2013.
Yeah, as you were talking, I remembered seeing it.
Yeah. And I hadn't
so I have this
loaded it up
vague
since then.
picture of that.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's a crazy thing now.
We're at like Alpha 18 or something.
Yeah,
he's been releasing. The reason I started playing it is because it finally came out on Steam a few days ago. And so I'm like, okay, this. It's not technically the launch; it's still in alpha, so to speak. But this, when something shows up on Steam, that's often the point at which it gains a lot more visibility. And so I figured, okay, this is a good point to finally jump in. I bet the game is mature enough to support an ongoing stream, and it totally is. So I'm really, and I'll probably take this colony on for a while, and then eventually I'll probably make a new game and step up to a tougher AI or premise or starting scenario, because it is. I definitely can tell I'm on easy mode right now. Crazy shit happens sometimes, but none of it has been. The craziest thing probably that happened was a heat wave struck at the same time as a solar flare, which meant that my base was just like 100 degrees all the time, and it was just crazy. Like my electronics were failing, and people were miserable, and that's apparently quite an unusual event. But even that was not. Yeah. I'm sure on the harder difficulties it's way more intense. So anyway, RimWorld by Tynan Sylvester. It's really good, I think.
Cool.
Nice.
Oh, and you can follow along with my streams at twitch.tv/idlethumbs. And if you don't see them live, you can catch up at youtube.com/idlevideos. And those have been a blast to do.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nick, what were you laughing at earlier?
Well, Chris was talking about Jeff Goldblum hitting on people, and it reminded me that I was reading this AV Club article about.
Hold on, backing up. I like that he keeps referring to the character as Nick Breckon, and you keep referring to him as Jeff Goldblum. You want a little distance from this. Anyway, Chris was talking about someone hitting on people, and it reminded you of this Jeff Goldblum thing.
Yeah, well, I was reading it. The AV Club does these interviews. I forget what they're called, but it's sort of like the entire. It spans the career of the subject. So it's like, and this was with Richard Schiff, the actor on The West Wing. Toby on The West Wing, and it's interesting because it's always sort of character actors and people that have gotten around and had interesting careers and sort of break everything down by project. And then it occurred to me while I was reading it, they're going to talk about Jurassic Park 2. And so they get to the Jurassic Park 2.
I haven't seen the movie in so long.
Yeah, well, he's in it, and he's got a fairly decent role. And I was reading this, and, he's just talking about, like, Steven Spielberg and, like, how impressive he was. And then he gets down here, and he goes, and this is in talking about sort of, like, various other actors on it. So Vince Vaughn was hysterical and combative. You don't want to talk politics with him. Jeff was hysterical. He kept coming on to my wife, and I had to physically challenge him.
What?
And then AV Club goes, wow. Richard Schiff, I think that's his default position. He loves women, and I'm playing around. He wasn't serious by any means. I had to physically challenge him.
That's totally true, though. Do you remember when he came over to our table at the jazz show?
He's very, very charming with the ladies. My wife happens to be still to this day quite beautiful and sexy. When she came on set, Jeff just automatically turned on the charm. So I had to say, Jeff, don't do that in front of me. And he said, oh, okay, and then continued to do it because he knows no other way.
Yeah.
It's totally how he is.
It's totally how he...
So
yeah,
weird.
do you remember?
Yeah, well, I remember.
He was very hands-on.
Very hands-on with
in
everybody in the entire room.
Yeah. It was anyway, something. Yeah.
Correct me up while you were describing a character named Jeff Goldblum hitting on everybody. Yeah.
I have to be clear again. The character's name is Nick Breckon.
Nick Goldblum.
His nickname is Goldblum because of his behavior. But he was born and still is Nick Breckon.
Yeah.
Fine.
All right. You guys want to take a break?
Break
yeah,
time?
let's break.
All right. Video games. This episode of Idle Thumbs is brought to you by Harry's. Harry's manufactures and sends you high-quality razors and shaving equipment directly to your home. They have an incredibly simple lineup. You've got your razors, you've got your blades, you've got the shaving cream or gel. They've got, a face wash, a couple other things, but it is very simple, very straightforward. They got the stuff you need. Works really well. I've started using my Harry's shaving stuff in the shower. I've started shaving directly in the shower. I gotta say, it's really nice because your skin's all hot and like
steamed up in there.
Yeah,
sounds good.
It is quite good. I've been digging it a lot. The Harry's face wash also very nice. It's got that nice exfoliating quality.
What is exfoliating?
Glad you asked actually, because I asked my wife because I actually did not know.
I mean, it's shedding a layer of skin.
Oh, so you do know?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that seems insane.
Exfoliation is like helping it along.
Just scrubbing.
Yeah, you're not like turning red.
You're just sandpapering your face.
No, you're not. It's just like a nice.
It's beautiful.
Light removing what's already.
It's a beautiful process.
Yeah, I have to go down a few layers. It's gonna take a while.
As we all know, Nick Brecken's got a lot deep down there.
Yeah. Just a
buried inside
snake
him.
skin of you.
So if you go to harrys.com, that's HARRYS.com, and enter code THUMBS at checkout, you will get $5 off your first purchase with Harry's. That will get you the starter kit, which starts at just $15 for the razor handle, the shave cream. You get the 3 razor blades, but you can get $5 off of that. That's only $10 for all the stuff you need to start shaving in the shower or anywhere else. I mean, probably like at the sink, but theoretically anywhere. Because they will mail it anyway. I mean, they'll mail it to any address you put in there. So you could shave at work. Why not?
You could shave right now.
You could shave while listening
on this
to
podcast.
I could be shaving right now.
No one would know.
For all you listeners know, I am currently shaving. That's harrys.com with the offer code THUMBS for $5 off. Thanks, Harry's. Video games.
Counter-Strike gun news. It's even wackier now. Stick with us. Nick, talk about fighting games.
Oh, the Evolution 2016 tournament, I guess, was on this weekend. And this is the fighting game sort of version of a huge yearly, like in the way that Dota has like the international. This is and this thing has been going on for
many games.
I think the late 90s, and it's many games. It's all the top fighting games.
Yeah.
All the coolest games,
like Super Smash Brothers. I love that.
Right.
I like
the GameCube version, which is really good.
I think that's awesome. I think it's really awesome that the GameCube version of Smash is like.
It took it a while to finally ascend its way into Evo. That's happened over the course of this podcast, I think.
Yeah. So hilarious too, because they rented out the Mandalay Bay casino resort, whatever, like stage for this, which is just where they have like boxing matches. And then put, like 15,000 gamers in the stands, and then they have the boxing ring though, with the two guys sitting in the middle,
right?
Not facing each other though, just facing TVs, like just CRTs, because it's the GameCube version of Smash Brothers. Anyway, I didn't even know this was going on, and I was on vacation, and we were just like. When you go on vacation, you're like, oh, yeah, cable exists. Like, oh, you have a TV that has cable, and we're bored, and it's 10 o'clock. So I just turned it on, and I was like, oh, my God, this is on ESPN. It was on ESPN 2, not 3, which is what Dota was on. We've now gone up one ESPN notch to ESPN 2. And it was really weird. Like, I don't know a lot about fighting games other than like I know how they work, but I don't follow the fighting game competitive scene.
Yeah.
The circuit.
The FGC.
Yeah. Is that true? Is that what it's called?
I mean, FGC is the fighting game community, and that acronym just gets. I just see it used all the time.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure it doesn't. It's probably not actually the right term for the like competitive circuit.
Yeah,
specifically.
I'm pretty offended that you would actually use that term to mean something.
When I say FGC, I mean fighting game circuit. I'm using an alternate acronym.
Okay. I caught the sort of beginning of the Street Fighter block, which was the finale of all this stuff. And I get, the thing that everybody was sort of going on about on the internet was that there's this guy. I guess he was technically the last like American-born dude. So you know how like in StarCraft, if somebody's American and doing well, everyone's like, oh shit.
Well, if anyone's
we're not
Korean, and doing
well, right.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, I think the top players are Japanese and Korean.
Okay.
And Korean eventually won, of course. But the thing that was really weird is that I was watching it with my mom. And my mom knows what games are, but like I just turned this thing on, and she was kind of mystified, that it was even on ESPN. And I was trying to explain like, oh, it's the Evolution tournament, like it's a tournament of like fighting games, and we were watching this, and it's Street Fighter and Street Fighter 5, I guess we're into now. Street Fighter 5, and it's two players, and they're playing as the same character, right? Which is a very common thing in fighting game tournaments where, there are like three popular characters that are just known to be, I guess, probably the best.
Does that change with the metagame, though?
I'm sure that it does.
I don't know if those are more static than...
but it's kind of like StarCraft, I assume, where it ebbs and flows, right? Where like Terran's really popular this year, and then
Yeah.
But so it's the same character just like punching... the other character that is the same character.
Right.
And it's just madness.
Yeah.
And then occasionally they would pop in the webcam view of the players.
Right.
But then that wouldn't always correspond to the side of the screen they were on because you can just jump over them.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, she's like, so what's actually going on here, Nick, video game player? And I'm like,
they're fighting.
Well, they're punching each other. And then... it's not even that you just like win one round, right? Because it's a street fighting game. It's always like best of 3, I guess. It's like 2 out of 3, and then that's the thing. You have to do that, but then also 3 out of 5 overall.
Yeah.
So you're playing like a countless number of actual rounds, and then there's this whole system of like. And this is the case in other tournaments as well. I think in Dota. I think in Dota 2, where if you come in off the losers bracket, like if you get knocked down to the losers bracket and then work your way back up to like in the finale, obviously the sort of winner of the losers bracket faced the winner of the winners bracket.
Yeah.
And you have to like erase. There's some system where you essentially have to win a best out of 5. And then win another best out of 5 if you're the loser guy. If you're the loser.
Yeah.
Which is just really confusing to watch because he's won like 20 rounds of Street Fighter as the same. They're all playing the same character. And it's just going on, and like the commentators
from your mom's
are just
standpoint, this is like, these clones just fight each other forever,
right?
It's just a weird dystopian gladiatorial.
Well, but even
scenario.
to me, that was the surprising thing. I was just trying to watch this, and I was like, I have no idea who's winning or like all. And
a mom's perspective is probably also, what this game is this guy fights this guy. Like the notion that there's other anything besides
this
two
twin
players,
fights his brother.
2 players both play as the same person and punch each other.
Right.
Yeah. It was just
a very simple game.
Yeah. Anyway, I have nothing interesting to say about it other than I was trying to grasp. I mean, it eventually became really exciting. It actually turned into like a really good finale.
Yeah.
Once you kind of like, okay, they have to basically win like 3 more rounds, and now it's getting, now they're like the same. They both have like a shred of health, and the next one wins it. But you kind of have to be told that, and in the meantime, it's just like watching baseball where nothing is of real consequences happening for like 60 rounds of Street Fighter, and they're just kind of like making conversation while a guy punches the other guy forever. It was weird. It was really weird. I guess people who follow this stuff said that it was not actually a great series of rounds this tournament. But
so it wasn't just the outsider.
But it was strange to see that on ESPN.
Yeah,
really, really bizarre.
I wonder what the ratings are for something like that.
I do too. Apparently, like sports people watched it, and now I think on like SmackDown or one of those wrestling things, I saw a clip of like one of the commentators mentioning the American dude who was like Long Island Joe. That's his name. Long Island Joe. Long Island Joe and his dad, who was in the stands.
Oh, man.
With like a crazy mustache and like, tattoos and just,
classic
like biker dad and just, his stupid geeky son. And they were just like hugging and like, you did it, son. Like, oh, man. Yeah. Very sports. Yeah. Sports to the max.
Anyway, very sports.
The most sports. But anyway.
Man, that's so funny because the turning that on and seeing that, right? Like if you're just browsing through channels, you're on ESPN2, and it's like, weird Clone Man fights Clone Man forever. And then you come back an hour later and it's Smash Brothers, and it's like 4 completely wacky characters like jumping around. And yeah.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Well, and then the other game is Marvel vs. Capcom, which is the most like bizarre, insane fighting game that's ever been concocted, where every single button press is like a special move that triggers a cutscene that goes on for like 20 seconds. And everybody's got like meters that are all just sort of determining when those cutscenes happen. It's just, I don't know. I mean, at least in that one, I guess people would be like, Iron Man's fighting Iron Man's fighting Iron Man.
It's a game.
Oh, yes, Iron Man I get it now. It's just like the film. Where
is
Iron
one
Man...
of them evil Iron Man? No, they're both just Iron Man.
They're both Iron Man.
I mean, sure.
Is there like a variant
you
suit?
Decide.
No. Anyway.
Iron Man with red highlights fights Iron Man with blue highlights. I imagine. I don't even know.
I don't even know.
Capcom versus Marvel versus Capcom.
Probably.
No. Yeah.
Maybe the portrait's different.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're exactly the same to make sure it looks real good on TV.
I would actually just not be able to. If I had to play a character that looked the same as the other character, I would literally not be able to keep track of who I am.
Yeah.
That's because I just know myself when fighting games well enough to know that would be I would be pointless.
Mm-hmm.
There'd be no reason for me to even try.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny to imagine your mom watching that stuff because your mom like played Skyrim and stuff. Like your mom, has experience with video games, but that version of what a video game is versus this, they're just on different planets. Those are not even remotely. There's nothing in common whatsoever.
Not at all.
At all.
There's a 2D guy that's jumping around. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only.
That's not the same.
No, it's not. It's not the same. But it's still like in the same era.
Well, it's a representation of a human figure on a TV screen. Yes, but
I'm just saying
the only similarity is that you press the analog stick in a direction. Except they're probably not even using analog sticks. And then the character moves in that direction.
Yeah,
that's about the only similarity.
Yeah,
competitive Skyrim is still on like ESPN 12. It's got a ways to go.
I was really sad. I really wanted her to do a Skyrim mom stream on Idle Thumbs while she was in town.
I know. I was hoping it was going to happen.
I pitched it to her, and she told me that she had a nightmare the night after I brought it up, where she was on the stream and didn't know how to move, and we made like no progress. And I was like, I can't do this to my mom. I can't cause my mom to have nightmares while she's visiting me. But I did sit her down and make her play.
What you could have done was do a local recording, and then and then if it went okay, then uploaded it. But whatever. Yeah.
I made her play Super Metroid for 10 minutes.
Oh, that's cool.
Just to see if she was still
First 10 minutes of Super Metroid are pretty unbeatable.
It's intense.
Yeah.
I mean, like that first like
the base escape stuff.
The base escape stuff. That's a rough way to begin a game, and she pretty much got out of there. I was like really impressed.
Nice.
She's like 70 something now. Anyway,
can still escape an exploding space base.
Yeah.
Cool.
Should we do some mail?
Yeah. Well, so new stuff happened with Val. So hours after we recorded last week's podcast, I mean, I think we basically pressed stop on the record, left, and then we all went and did our jobs, normal jobs, and then went online and saw, Valve now is addressing this CSGO gambling stuff like hours after we, committed to tape a recording in which we talked about them not having
about how they hadn't done anything. Yeah. Then they went and did. They did some things.
So I guess they issued a statement saying that, they've determined that these gambling sites are operating against the terms of service of Steam, using their APIs, and so they are blocking access, I suppose, to them for that reason.
The lovely excuse of we'll take no moral or corporate or official stance on this. However, in terms of service that we ourselves wrote, means that
Nick Brecken's got a butt.
But 5 hours ago,
oh wow, I haven't seen whatever this is.
Yeah, they sent out cease and desist letters to. It seems like every major CSGO gambling site. Carl Quackenbush, the Valve General Counsel, which his name could not be improved, sent out these letters that said, "We are aware that you are operating one of the gambling sites listed below. You're using Steam accounts to conduct this business. Your use of Steam is subject to the terms of Steam subscriber agreement. Under the SSA, Steam and Steam services are licensed for personal, non-commercial use only. Your commercial use of the account is unlicensed and in violation." So they're actually apparently enforcing the commercial use of Steam accounts on these sites, which theoretically shuts it all down. Although it's only on these specific sites that they're sending these, and the question, I guess, is whether they'll, how fine-toothed.
Hopefully, they just keep that up, in my opinion, and don't just like done and dusted now that we sent them to all the current ones. Anyway, the spotlight will then sort of recede off of this and let it pick up somewhere else.
CSGOdiamonds.com. CSGOatse.net.
I was just going to say that. I just loaded this up. They've got all these. They've got like CSGOLounge.com, CSGO Strong,
Big.
CSGO Double, CSGO 500, CSGO Cosmos, CSGO Casino, CSGO 2X, CSGO House, CSGOatse.
Yeah. Is that GOATSE?
Yes.
Yeah.
CSGOatse.com has been blocked.
I think they should have blocked all
Steam.
of them but CSGOatse. I think that's maybe.
We have determined that CSGOatse.com is fully in compliance with our terms of service.
Yeah. However, users must first get past the splash page.
Okay, I just went to CSGOatse.
Oh, man.
If you go to CSGOatse, a thrilling skin enterprise.
Oh, no. Oh, God.
Well, that's too bad.
It seems to be played totally straight. I think it's just another one of these sites, except that it's called CSGOatse, and its tagline is a thrilling skin enterprise. But otherwise, I think it's just the same thing as all the other ones. It's got roulette, blackjack, tibby and dice.
I wonder if
jackpot.
the ATSE stands for something. Hopefully it's an accident. Hopefully this is just a total like Tobias Funke of the gaming world, where they've named their website CSGOatse without knowing it.
Their button that says sign in through Steam is misspelled, so it says sign in trough Steam. I don't think that's intentional. I'm trying to find
clever dodge attempt, CSGOatse.
I'm trying to find like an about page, but I don't think they have one. I bet none of these sites have about page because they don't want anyone to like.
Oh yeah.
They don't want to provide any information about their existence than they have to.
Huh. That's interesting.
There's 589 players right now on CSGOatse.
Got to get it all in there before the end.
Stop.
All right, Reader Veil, I suppose.
Well, I hope that. I've always actually hoped that Valve would do things with Steam user accounts beyond just letting you log into Steam, and it's kind of a bummer that.
I mean, they have a generalized like sign in to Steam API. Yeah.
Like one of the other sort of not super hot right now, but consistently present Steam like metaverse things is the gray market world, world of gray market Steam keys, and I've always hoped that maybe Valve would somehow use the fact that you can log into Steam as a way to get rid of the Steam key gray market. Like if there was a world where you as a third-party seller, like as a third-party game developer, could let people log into your website with the Steam account, give people a key directly through that, give people rather a ownership of a copy of your game, and like Valve would take a smaller percent or something. Like there's so many weird other worlds that could exist using Steam logins for commercial purposes.
Right.
But now it feels like that door is like slammed shut behind like a Mystery Science Theater collection of safes, because the only time this is the only example that ever actually took off was people using it for gambling. What?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh well.
Oh man, hot off the presses here.
Oh really? Even more
Minutes
recently?
ago, CSGOatse issues statement. We would like to inform that in 8 days we will be closing down our site temporarily to speak to Valve regarding this. And then they also ask everybody to use all their coins. Best regards, SCGOatse.
Nice.
We'll close temporarily to talk to Valve. Great.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the world of Counter-Strike. If anyone was wondering what was happening in the competitive terrorist versus counter-terrorist first-person shooter game Counter-Strike, casinos are being shut down.
The one side story to all of this, I think, is that the CS:GO competitive scene is probably going to be largely wiped out by this, which is really interesting.
Wait,
why? Because right now, I've seen a lot of comments from people talking about this, and right now it seems like a lot of these matches are being watched, inspected
by people
specifically for gambling, and so.
This is like if suddenly horse racing and boxing were things you weren't allowed to bet on anymore. Would those industries survive at the scale that they are? Probably not.
No. Yeah.
I mean, is that what happened to horse racing? Probably.
I don't know.
It still exists, but
I mean, you can bet on it, but it's not. Yeah.
So what did change? I guess nothing.
Just nobody likes.
I guess just no one cares.
Yeah.
All that real estate could turn into malls, Chris.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess to wrap this up, Andy Pfeiffer writes in saying, "Hey, Thumbs, this is about how kids are able to fill up Steam wallets or buy currency in games that require a credit card. The answer is incredibly simple. You can just buy prepaid Steam cards, Blizzard cards, PS4 gift cards, etc. at any GameStop, Target, Best Buy, or similar store."
I completely forgot that. I saw a couple people mention this online, that you can just pay cash for Steam money at any retail store on the gift card rack.
Yep. He says if you have a job, an allowance, or any other way to get money, you can easily purchase stuff for digital games. No parental trickery required. Signed, a parent. Okay, so Austin Johnson writes, "Hey Thumbs, my name is Austin J. I'm a relatively new reader, started a few months ago from the Portland area. I've been listening to your podcast at work and have gotten more and more addicted. I started listening once in a while when I got bored of my music, and now I can't even listen to music at work."
Take that, music.
Yeah. Anyway, he goes on a little bit about that. Anyway, now to the real reason I'm writing to you today. I've passed the release of DayZ, and hearing the stories Sean told about it at the beginning of 2014, it sparked my interest in DayZ again, and even more, my beloved game Rust, although I'm a CSGO player at heart.
Gambler is what he means, gambler.
To give some background, this game came to me during some of my most depressing years, and I think truly helped me get through some really tough stuff, though at the same time kept me distracted from everything in life. A group of 8 of us friends bought the game and started playing. I believe he's talking about Rust.
Yeah.
Only me and one other friend got hooked and kept playing.
Accomplice.
We decided to run...
No, you're a wholesome player if you play Rust. That's a different situation.
We decided to run as a 2-man group and challenge the larger 20-plus man groups on the servers. How can you keep up with 20-plus people, you probably ask? The answer is breaking your day into 3 parts. 4 hours of sleep, 30 minutes to an hour for food once or twice a day, and literally 18-plus hours of gameplay. You may even be able to say I was playing 23 hours a day because I would change the sound in my PC to speakers and leave them full volume in my room, turning the music down so I could sleep. So if anyone tried to mess with my house, the noise from it would easily wake me up. Needless to say, all my expendable income during that month went straight into energy drinks. Sometimes it was easy keeping up in supplies, but inevitably there were times we died a couple times in a row trying to mess with large groups and had to farm for resources again. This is extremely tedious when you've gotten a taste for the endgame. This isn't the reason for what I did to this player, but it definitely crossed my mind. One day I was out patrolling alone, and mind you, I did not intend to do harm to new players or those who did not have a lot. My real enemy were the large group who claimed to be great players but really just had numbers. I came up on an obvious new player early in the evening in real time and saw that he was farming a particular area, so I kept clear of him. I didn't want to scare him. We saw each other, and he made sure to keep his distance. I kept mine, watching only to make sure he wasn't making aggressive moves on me. After 8 hours of me patrolling and seeing him farming resources as I passed through the area, he apparently finally found a pistol. Took only one sight of me at long range, and he fired 3 shots. I wasn't able to catch up with him before he ran into his 1x1 house, the easiest house to break into, and I waited for him to come out. I sat out there, unsure if he knew of my presence or not, but definitely he didn't know who he shot at or who was waiting outside for him for 45 minutes, at which time he fell asleep, disconnected. Now I was really upset. All I wanted to do is teach this guy a lesson about picking fights you can't win. Now I was about to turn his life upside down. Blah, blah, blah. I took everything out of his house, and at the end I called an admin and explained the situation to make sure I wasn't doing anything against the rules of the server. Hours later that day, in real time, I saw the guy log back on and started blowing up general chat, asking how he could have lost all of his stuff. Me being the nice guy I am, I told him, "Oh man, that's horrible. It's the worst when that happens. I'll tell you what, come and live with me. I'll make a space for you and you can give me resources every week to pay rent." I was immediately met with a Steam friend request from the admin who helped me earlier, and he teleported to me, uncontrollably laughing over in-game voice chat. He managed, "You son of a bitch, I wish I'd thought of that." It wasn't entirely out of malice. However, my buddy and I ended up teaching him a great deal about the game and giving him technology that he otherwise may have never gotten. Eventually, he spread his wings and became an educated Rust player himself. In spite of the malicious intent, I still consider this my greatest moment in multiplayer gaming. Stealing 8 hours of work from somebody only to become sympathetic and recruit him as an indentured servant. Sorry for the long email. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please keep up the good work. Have a great rest of your week, Austin. P.S. Any talk about Overwatch is always encouraged. That is intense.
Yeah, that's really good.
Man, I can't imagine keeping up that kind of schedule in a game, though.
Yeah. The only time I ever went that far was like the launch of World of Warcraft, I think, which happened at the end of a college semester.
Uh-huh.
And so it was like finals over. Now
New life begins.
New life begins, and right straight through Christmas, and it was gross. And that was the only time I think I've ever.
Mm-hmm. I probably had some moments like that in college.
Yeah.
With either World of Warcraft or Halo, actually. Yeah.
I was never that extreme, but that guy reminds me, like, in college and high school and even post-college time for a while, I had a lot of friends who were online-only friends, and I had many friends on the internet who were that person of just like, I know that if I drop into this game or onto this chat server, that person will just always be there. And they're just basically a weird resource in your life. And then thinking about it as the actual what that human being is, you don't want to think about it.
No. God, when I was when Counter-Strike first came out, I was in a weird clan with like Swedish guys. They were called BBB, I think, for like something Big Brother something.
Uh-huh.
What a weird time.
Yep.
They made me download what was the chat client? IR something.
IRC,
yeah. No, not IRC. No, the other one.
ICQ.
ICQ. They were like, you got to use this ICQ thing.
Yeah,
and then we'll chat and make sure that you're cool.
They seek to you.
Yeah.
ICQ stands for I seek you, if you're wondering.
Oh, no. Barf.
Do you still know your ICQ number?
Oh, no. No way.
Oh, I think I do. I think I know mine. I actually do. I know that I know it.
I'm 515-38948, which is a long ICQ number. I didn't use it for a long time.
I think I'm 2699791.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
How the fuck do we know that?
I knew that.
I haven't signed in like a decade.
Yeah, that was committed to memory before my driver's license and even I think maybe before my social security number because I just should have known that way earlier in life. But
I realized the other day I don't know my wife's cell phone number.
Yeah. But you got your ICQ number on lock.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know my stupid old ICQ number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Old things and new things.
Yep. Good.
If my iPhone could remember my ICQ number for me, I wouldn't have to remember it anymore.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it could. It just has no reason to. I bet there's an ICQ client for iOS.
I think ICQ might not exist because remember ICQ was valuable enough that AOL bought them.
Yeah.
And you could cross message with AIM users.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Had that little sunflower icon.
Stupid flower. I was just gonna mention the flower.
Yeah.
What a weird thing.
Made all kinds of. I think all the default sounds were really goofy and.
Oh, it was a guy saying "uh-oh."
Yeah. Yep.
God, now I'm just thinking about those guys. The reason that I was playing Counter-Strike and I was like, man, these guys are like playing this as if it was like Rainbow Six or something. They were like creeping around and like checking corners and like doing all the stuff that you're supposed to do if you're playing a game about like tactical combat. And everybody else was just like running around like it's Quake. And I was like, these guys are interesting. I need to know who these guys are.
Yeah.
What is going through? Turns out they were just like really bad at the game. And so like I got stuck in this clan with these guys.
Of course.
And I would just Quake it up and get like 20 kills and they would just creep around. Yeah. Anyway. Counter-Strike. Our Counter-Strike podcast.
All right. Patrick Greatbatch writes, "Hey, Thumbs. Long time, first time, yada yada. You've been talking about the Ghost Post for a couple weeks now, which has been fascinating for me as an active puppet master. This week you mentioned that the Disney event was not marketing for a separate product, which made it different than many ARGs. I just wanted to let you know that there's another non-promotional ARG running right now called The Black Watchman, which has 2 seasons released on Steam so far. It has its own lore, world, etc., separate from anything else. Obviously, this is self-promotion, as I am one of the head puppet masters, so I apologize. Anyway, I'm curious to get your take on ARGs as games themselves rather than as components of a marketing campaign. Keep up the great work. Thanks, Patrick. I've never heard of the Black Watchman. That's cool, though.
I don't think I have either.
I mean, I think this email was potentially written actually before Pokemon Go came out, but that feels like the... Yeah. I mean, it's not really like an ARG. You're not like solving a puzzle, but it definitely
is an in-world phenomenon.
Yeah, it's like
it's a game that you're seeing the results of in your life.
It's a much lower barrier to entry thing that bridges, sort of a game and like navigating the real world, and people are going apeshit for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't played a lot of like Jake. Have you done much ARG stuff?
I don't think that I have. No, I'm trying to. I'm interested in following them from afar, but I've never done them before.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the...
Oh, man. Oh, my God. Yeah.
I just signed into ICQ on my phone for the first time.
Oh, wow.
Did you actually did it? Oh, wow.
Yeah, it took my old number and stuff.
And then
a bunch of people were not signed in, but my contact list was basically just Chris Ramo, some people who helped with the old Idle Thumbs site circa 2005, and then all the guys I made Quake 3 mods with was my, my buddy list.
Mine would probably mainly be people from high school, I'm guessing.
Yeah, interesting. Anyway, no, ARG stuff, yeah. They're just, ARG or AR, none of that stuff I've ever really gotten into.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really either. We did we went to that Halo 2 I Love Bees.
You went to that. I didn't go. You went alone.
I went alone. Yeah, and I reported on it for the old Idle Thumbs website.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a cool thing. I mean, that stuff is like always awesome to read about.
Yeah,
when it's happening.
You gotta like.
I guess the challenge of it is that you have to make something that is like it's hard to make for its own purpose, probably because it's so lopsided in terms of how many people are going to actually play it. Did
you do the Jejune Institute stuff that was running in San Francisco?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and we talked about the Haunted Mansion Ghost Post on here, which is...
Well, that's what this email was referencing.
Yeah.
The
Jejune Institute was actually probably the closest thing to a like purely commercial or like not promotional ARG thing that I participated in. It was... I can't remember who ran it. There are people who got super into Jejune. It was a game that ran in San Francisco where you would go into an office building on the weekend, and it felt very much like the beginning of the David Fincher movie, The Game, or something, where you'd go into an office building that was otherwise deserted because it was actually a working office during office hours. But when the Jejune Institute was running it, there was a guy at the receptionist table who would then walk you through an empty office and put you in the back in a little conference room, which I guess is the actual only part that these guys were renting out. But it was then you'd watch like this sort of new age indoctrination video and take a survey. And there was information on the back of it that implied that this was not all what it seemed. And then you'd go out on this adventure, the sort of first chapter of Jejune, which is the thing that I think the most people played. You'd then go out on this sort of puzzle adventure around Chinatown where you'd like visit an old PI's office and like find things embedded into the wall of an old church there and all these other things. Eventually, subsequent parts would like lead you into the mission, listening to local, probably not legal FM radio broadcasts, and various merchants would give you coins, and there was all sorts of just that's about as far as I got. But I know that thing culminated in like some big event out on either Angel Island or Treasure Island. Like it was a they sort of winnowed down the number of people who were playing it until it got into the core people who were in the late game of that. But that was quite the endeavor. I know those guys tried to then do a follow-up one, and I don't think it hit as well. At one point, a friend of mine was playing it, and he asked me if I was interested, and then gave me just like an unlabeled, like what looked like an unlabeled credit card, and I was supposed to use that and go somewhere with it, and it would admit me into some sort of event, but I never bothered to do it, so I screwed up.
Yeah,
I'm the reason
that was the Latitude thing,
that was
right?
Latitude. Yeah.
So there's an amazing piece called "My Year in San Francisco's $2 Million Secret Society Startup" by Lydia Lawrenson on Vice Motherboard, and it's a very it's a deeply reported long piece about this weird, crazier San Francisco secret society ARG thing that Jake that you're describing, that starts with the credit card basically that someone gives you and then lets you into this weird place. and it's crazy. I mean, it eventually sort of fell apart due to kind of internal strife in terms of like what's the business model and what's the point of this thing and how should it be run. But it's a very weird and fascinating read. But yeah, the Jejune stuff was cool. I never got to do the finale of it because I think the finale happened after I'd moved to Boston.
Yep.
And I did the first. I think there were 4 parts, and I did the first 3 maybe.
I only did the first couple.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that stuff is crazy. So, all right, robot news. Noah Huppert writes in saying someone saw Boston Dynamics walking their robot in the wild, and then he has a link to a YouTube video, which is just a first person, which is like someone just on their phone in the forest, and their dog is with them. And then just like you hear the fucking crazy bee sound, and then marching through the forest comes a crazy like Petman on a huge leash with all these people walking it with like it hooked up to a battery in a golf cart. And it's just like it looks like a procession. It looks like a robot parade. It looks like a parade with a robot as like the marshal of the parade, marching through the forest with all these people like walking behind it.
I was gonna say it just looks like they're taking it out to the woods to shoot it. Like it just man.
It could be the other way around though. The robot could be dragging all of these.
True. That's true.
All right, and then as a follow-up to that, Phil English writes, "Hi Thumbs. Thought this was some slightly different robot news for you to all enjoy this week, in which researchers reveal a stingray robot made up of, quote, a pinch of rat cardiac cells, a pinch of breast implant, and a pinch of gold. Slightly disturbing is that it can only swim in a soup made up of, quote, suspended nutrients in it to keep the rat heart cells fed and alive."
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
The headline of this story on Popular Mechanics is, "This swimming stingray robot is powered by real living rat cells. The cells are activated by light and contract so the robo stingray can swim."
If that thing learns to speak, it will just say "kill me," and it will.
Yes.
It'll just make the sound that the thing makes.
Yep. Don't like the sound your stomach made at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ryan Bone also wrote in about this with a link to a different story about the same topic on NPR. He says, "I wanted you guys to see this quote from an NPR article about a synthetic stingray made of silicon, gold, and living muscle cells. Quote, I sat down with him," Parker says, "and I said, Seung-Jin, we're going to take a rat apart. We're going to rebuild it as a stingray, and we're going to use a light to guide it." And the look on his face was both sorrow and horror.
Oh, my God. I've got a vision, kid. What? Oh.
Maybe the worst vision anyone has ever had. But by God.
Yeah, we're going to do it.
We're going to do it.
We're going to roll up our sleeves and stick our hands in rat brain or whatever. God. Ugh. Man. Christ alive. What are we living in right now? 2016.
Yeah, just distressing on all axes.
Oh,
all
man.
Like the future.
The future is bleak.
Yeah,
the future is now.
The future
and
is
it is
now
bleak.
And it's bleak.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
God, follow up. The idea just hit me like a thunderbolt.
Yeah.
Parker.
Yeah.
Just one of those moments where perfect inspiration.
Just because it was
rat stingray. What if I made a rat stingray?
Just like shambling, horrible.
Well, no, cut to the Petman that's
creature.
just like shocking him with like the electrodes that cause him to think that. Like,
I just felt something almost as though I'd been struck by some sort of electrical impulse.
Yeah. It's weird. It was weird. And in a flash, I thought,
that robot
manufacture these killer robots.
The camera then cuts to an interview with the Petman saying, "I just realized that if I electrocuted this guy in the correct way, he would build me a new body made of organs."
Yeah.
Parker's lab had previously built an artificial jellyfish, but a stingray was much more complicated. And the team was facing tough questions like, how do you take cells from a rat and make them swim like a fish?
And one of the questions they did not ask was, should we be doing this?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. It's almost like... Well, I can't actually ever remember that quote correctly.
I know.
You know the quote, though.
Yeah. They didn't stop to think if they should.
Yeah, they didn't know if they should. They didn't stop.
The ray is propelled by 200,000 heart muscle cells taken from a rat. The cells have been genetically altered to allow the hybrid creature to follow a pair of blue lights. Man.
In related news, blue lights installed.
Yeah, that's the next step on the tech tree.
To get the ray's tail to undulate, the team had to come up with a way to trigger muscle cells in sequence. The effect is similar to when the crowd at a ball game does the wave. He was inspired by this when he remembered the Petman triggering his own muscles in sequence using mild electrical shocks.
When watching how a sea of humans can be tricked into doing the wave.
Yeah.
God, yeah. Tiny low voltage electrical impulses in the seats at a stadium.
Just like the first 20 humans is all that it takes, we've noticed.
Yeah, that's true.
You can incite behavior amongst thousands by polluting the behavior of a small number of them.
Yep.
A lot of things happening in the year 2016.
The artificial stingray is likely to make some people uncomfortable, DeBerry says, because it raises questions about when a machine becomes a living organism.
Because upon viewing it, people's brains attempt to crawl out of their skulls.
Well. All right, let's close this out with an email from Dante Johnson, who writes in, "Hello, Thumbs."
A lot of good names this week. We're just saying.
Yeah. Your talk about Pepsi Man reminded me of a little PlayStation 1 game I rented on several occasions from Blockbuster. I was an idiot baby named Spot Goes to Hollywood.
Oh, yeah, Spot.
A 3D Banjo-Kazooie Sonic 3D knockoff where the player is Cool Spot, the 7-Up mascot.
Oh, well.
I don't remember getting very far in the game or what the story was beyond Spot is trapped in a film projector and has to travel through classic movie sets including Pirates, A Generic Adventure, and Horror with some added bonuses, all while collecting coins with a weird walking animation. It was fun enough, but I haven't thought about it in years until you spoke about Pepsi Man. Thanks for that. I also seem to remember the game inspiring stupid baby me to start drawing Cool Spot illustrations on everything.
Good. Yes.
Thanks for the nostalgia and awesome podcast. Happy pods. Attached is a link to some horrible-looking gameplay.
Interesting how playing that promotional game would lead one to continue to
Everyone's got to draw a cool spot on something once in their life.
Yes.
You got to try.
Well, you have to mention...
that was just part of the pitch for this game.
Right. Oh, yeah. It'll get
a 7-Up marketing executive.
Cool Spot. I played Cool Spot something on the Super Nintendo.
Oh, that was just Cool Spot.
That was just Cool Spot. That was the original. Sorry.
Okay.
Cool Spot Origins.
It's been renamed to that now for the re-release.
Actually, not
cool
a bad
Spot
game.
Heritage.
I remember when Pepsi Man was happening, I was like, oh, Janelle, this is just like Cool Spot. And she was like, what's Cool Spot? And I was like, okay, here, let me pull up a YouTube video.
She
was like, the animation in this game is actually really good.
Cool Spot was one of the games by Virgin Interactive.
Yeah. When Earthworm Jim, right?
It was Earthworm Jim and the Sega Genesis versions of Disney games, which also were animation first, gameplay second, in my opinion. But we don't need to get into which Aladdin was the best one. That's been debated to death in this post-internet world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, if only we were in a post-internet world.
Oh, sorry. In this internet world.
Yeah, that's the way. That's that.
Post-internet world.
In this post-Brexit world. I'm just going to start referring to everything as in this post-Brexit world.
Which just implies stingrays powered by rat cells and everything else.
What do you expect in this post-Brexit
what are you
world?
Do? Man, this is what happens.
It's inevitable.
This is what happens.
We should talk about our shitty 4th of July shirt idea because there's never going to be time for it ever again.
I already forget what it is.
Oh, it was. We realized we had a 10-day window to make shirts that would have sold like gangbusters this 4th of July, which said 4th of July. I think this was a Vanneman and Chris idea of a shirt that said 4th of July, the original Brexit, and it just had basically a bald eagle tearing through the Union Jack, and the shreds in its talons became the stripes of the American flag.
Basically in the style of like a Big Dog's shirt.
Yeah, right.
Shitty.
Just a shirt that you'd get mud on, basically.
Or that would have like fake mud on it.
One of the two.
Yeah, probably would also have that.
Yeah. Oh man, we could have capitalized on some garbage real hardcore with that shirt design. So hopefully right around the next 4th of July is when
Brexit sort of will be executed.
Yeah, the next horrible tumbler of England's future falls into place, and we can really just sell it.
Yeah, you got a pretty
Americans
big window.
There's
at least a 2-year window here, if not more,
we'll
if
see.
not longer.
We'll see.
Yeah.
hopefully people are complaining right around like July 20th next year, and we've got those shirts ready to go. Store.idlethumbs.net.
June 20th?
Yeah, June 20th. July 20th. Just fuck it a second time. Yeah.
We do have real stuff for sale in the store now. Store.idlethumbs.net. The Goldblum is back. The original white on blue T-shirt is back. That stuff is in the store. We still have the shitty wizard prints. I just hung some in my home, and they're great looking. And we have an email newsletter you can sign up for at any website. Let's try. I mean, we're done. I'm wrapping it up. On any website on idlethumbs.net or store.idlethumbs.net, you can sign up for the newsletter there. And you can follow us on Twitter at idlethumbs, on Facebook at facebook.com/idlethumbs. I am surely going to be streaming more RimWorld on our Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/idlethumbs. If you follow us on there, you'll get a notification when we go live. And you can watch those recorded videos at youtube.com/idlevideos. Nick, I don't know if you're planning on doing any streams anytime soon.
Sure.
But
I don't have any to announce.
Sure.
I have one Dark Souls stream, and then we have to do the finale.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
We have plans for the finale, big plans. Yeah. I'm sure we'll talk about plans will be communicated both on this podcast and surely in the newsletter if you sign up for that. Anyway, thanks for listening to our podcast. Please tell a friend if you enjoy it. Please rate and review us on iTunes. That helps us out a huge amount. And
we have to kill that Gary Busey, too.
Oh, we do have to kill that Gary Busey. Yeah. One of us should stream that.
What?
Yeah.
Gary Busey was announced as the next elusive target in Hitman.
Oh, yeah. Got to kill Gary Busey
2016.
For
sure. So, yeah. Got to do that. Keep an eye on the Twitch channel for that happening.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Bye.
Oh, bye.
Well, bye.
Bye. Thanks for stopping by.
Jesus. What is that actually from?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Oh, right. Hello, my future girlfriend.
Oh, God. That's right.
And finally, happy birthday to Mike Kemp, and special thanks to his partner, Madison.
Happy birthday, Mike.
Happy birthday, Mike. Bye, Mike.
Thanks for stopping by.